So as you know, this is still a very aggressive, still very active, fast-moving investigation. Our detectives have been working throughout the morning to gather evidence, to speak to victims, speak to witnesses, to collect video surveillance available that may help us piece together what may have happened this morning. So while we have a lot of work to do, I wanted to be transparent about what we are doing, what we have been doing, and what we know right now. Just before 1:30 a.m., gunshots rang out in the 100 block of Bourbon Street. At the time, there were nearly 40-plus police officers in and around the area, between the intersection of Canal and Bourbon, Iberville and Bourbon, and certainly in the middle of the block, we had over 40 police officers, both New Orleans police and state police. They immediately responded on foot and on horseback to disperse the crowd and to assist the victims. A total of 10 victims, 8 males and 2 females, were injured in the incident. They ranged from ages 20 to 37. One of them, 25-year-old Demonstris Tolliver, died from his injuries, and so our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Our officers, EMS workers, worked quickly to get the victims to the hospital to secure the scene. Detectives got right to work to find out what happened. So based on our initial investigation, this shooting appears to have stemmed from an argument between two males who are not from New Orleans, who actually met each other in the 100 block of Bourbon Street. We believe they ran into each other in the street and an argument ensued at that time that stemmed from an argument that was already, that they had already had from another place. At which point, the argument turned to a shootout. After that, they both fled the scene. We have been able to obtain what we believe to be strong information on who these suspects may be, and we're pursuing every lead at this moment. If and when we have information or video that we believe would be helpful to put out to the public to get their assistance, certainly we will do so. All of the victims and all of the witnesses we've spoken to have been very cooperative with detectives. We don't believe that any of the victims who were shot were the intended targets. You know, as the mayor said, he and I were at the hospital this morning meeting with the family members and some of the victims themselves. And as far as the status of the victims' conditions, 5 of the victims have been released from the hospital. 4 others still are being treated for their injuries. And at this time, the victims who remain in the hospital are expected to make a full recovery from their injuries. At the start of this weekend, I made it clear that we would not tolerate violent behavior, and we certainly would be on the lookout for anyone carrying illegal weapons, and we delivered on that. We had a very proactive stance, and in preparation for this weekend, our special events, we put a strong security plan in place that included an increased presence of New Orleans police officers and state troopers in and around the French Quarter and downtown area. And with the help of LSP, we had uniformed officers assigned on foot, in vehicles, and on horseback. We also had officers in plain clothes and on proactive patrol that led to 11 gun arrests over that 2-day period. We also added extra street lighting to make sure that the area was well lit so that our officers could be safe and that the people attending the French Quarter festivities could have a good time and feel safe. We made good on this promise. We told you we made those 11 arrests for guns in the French Quarter for people who are illegally carrying a firearm. These individuals, along with the suspects responsible for the shooting, they made a choice to endanger the lives of thousands of innocent residents and visitors who were in the area just having a good time. So this is a very active, robust investigation. We are continuing to work every angle very aggressively. So I'm confident that we will track down those responsible for this crime. We will hold them accountable for their actions and make sure that they are brought to justice.
Questions?
Chief, you said that there is we know that you guys had dozens of officers out there, robust, you did everything that you could, the plans as far as normal policing goes, but still 10 people are shot on the busiest weekends of the year here. Does it show that maybe those plans don't necessarily work in every situation?
Well, what it shows is that these people, in spite of a large police presence with police being right there, this is to bear on their shoulders. They made this decision to take out this very cowardly, aggressively act to endanger the lives of our citizens and our visitors. And so this is the choice they made when they left home to carry those guns and bring them to the French Quarter and then to use those guns to attack each other and put other people in harm's way. So we had a very robust plan. Everything that we could do, we did. Everything that was supposed to happen actually happened. The members of NOPD and the state police, our EMS workers, all of our first responders responded quickly, and so everything that was designed to happen in the event of an emergency went according to plan. But this is the act of just brazen cowards who took these actions into those hands, and these are their choices, and now we have to make our choice to pursue them and hold them accountable.
You're saying that the two people were shooting at each other. Do you know what kind of weapons they were using? So many bullets that fly.
So right now we're still investigating that. There were a number of shell casings on the ground, but that's now evidence in our case. And so what we like to do is not present exactly what that was, but we can tell you that we have a number of shell casings on the ground. We have information that supports a shootout that happened at that location.
Do we have an estimate of how many shots were fired?
We do not. We do not.
Now, for the two men you said that were not from New Orleans that may have started with the argument and escalated, are those the two people that you have in custody?
They are not the two people we have in custody, so let's be clear. One of the victims was in possession of a firearm, was arrested for being in possession of a firearm. A second subject, who was not a victim, was arrested for being in possession, illegally carrying a firearm. However, this was the work of two individuals who are not victims and who are not in our custody at this time, who we believe committed the actual shooting.
So you know that they were from out of town. Do you know their identities? What's happening now to try and capture this?
So we have leads. We're working with all of our partners, our state partners with the state police and the Fusion Center. We're working with FBI, ATF. We're working with members of other law enforcement agencies in the surrounding area to, number one, identify these people, but to find evidence that would certainly link them to the crime so that we can hold them accountable.
Victims that helped you determine who the shooters were?
It's all of the investigative work all working together at the same time.
Do we even know their descriptions of them, age range, or?
They're going to be young African American males, that we know. But what we're asking right now is for anyone who saw something, heard something, or anyone who knows something, however slight you may think that to be, please call us, please call Crime Stoppers and give us that information. And so while we have some information that we're working on, we certainly need the community's help and citizens' help in solving this matter so people can be held accountable and brought to justice.
If these suspects are two that you might know, think you know who they are they possibly someone who has crossed your radar in the past?
That's too early to determine. I would say that it's still a very active investigation. And so we're working with all of our partners to investigate every single lead, make sure we uncover every single rock and turn over every rock and look in every corner to make sure we get all the information we need so we can build a quality case to make sure people are held accountable for this.
Anybody else?
These two sets, are they still believed to be in the New Orleans area? Or?
That's part of our ongoing investigation. So those are questions we're trying to find answers to as well.
Mr. Mayor,
Last one.
we spoke with people who say that this isn't going to keep them from coming back to New Orleans. Obviously, they understand, what happened in this case, but there's some people who are genuinely scared to come back, especially on Bourbon Street, the one street that everyone knows. What do you say to the folks across the nation who are seeing this tonight and just seeing that 10 people were shot on one of the busiest holidays of the year?
Well, unfortunately, it is a series of circumstances that people in the United States of America are getting all too comfortable with. Since 1980 in the United States of America, over 630,000 American citizens have been killed on the streets of America, which is more of our soldiers that have been killed in all of the wars of the 20th century. You have also seen in the last couple of years a huge uptick in the number of terrorist attacks on the streets of America, and law enforcement, as I've said many, many times, I gave a speech about this a couple of months ago, becoming the tip of the spear in all of this work. It's unfortunate when two people who have no disregard for anybody else's life, much less their own, because they have to be willing to lose their life at that moment in that space. It's hard to police against that, but we are going to find a way. And as I have said many, many times in this city, you may not be able to police your way out of this problem alone because the police need help. Now, just like the Mother's Day shooting when the Scott brothers decided to have their way with the fight that they had, we told them we were going to find them and they were going to spend the rest of their lives in jail, and they did. Just like all of the indictments that are going on right now with the multi-agency gang unit, where we told people that if you did this, you would be put away. We've now arrested, indicted, and convicted 119 individuals. And this has been true time and time and time again. And so what I would say to the community is if you want to save community, you really got to step up to the plate. It is impossible to believe, given social media and technology, that somebody doesn't have a picture that will really help us here or somebody doesn't have specific information about the people that we have. As the chief said, without going into any more details, we have some idea of who these guys were. They were not from New Orleans, but we will find them. And we will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that we bring them to justice. And that is the way that you make people in America not only be safe, but feel safe. And we're going to continue to do that in the city because actions have consequences. And when you have a complete disregard for human life, you need to go away.
All right,
Thank
thank y'all.